Welcome to Career Uprising. I'm your host and professional career coach, Lorraine Rise. Join me as I guide you through an amazing journey of self-discovery and empowerment. If you are looking for work, changing careers, or stuck in a toxic job, then this is the show for you. I offer both practical and spiritual guidance to help you up-level and advance your career. Let's start the uprising. Hey everybody, you are listening to episode 42, Dealing with a Toxic Job. Hey everybody, welcome to Career Uprising. I'm Lorraine and I am happy to be back. And I say back because I actually had to take a week off and not do a show last week, which is really abnormal for me. As I was getting ready for this show, I felt like, gosh, it's been 3 weeks. That's a long time. It doesn't sound like a long time, but it is for me. I get used to doing this process and recording this show for you every 2 weeks. And I love having new content come out for you guys every week. So it was a little odd for me to not have a show last week. So I was under the weather, but I am better now. I guess that's kind of bound to happen this time of year, winter time still. So thanks for bearing with me, guys. But I'm back and I'm feeling great today. And I'm feeling really, really pumped about this show in general because it's really starting to take off. January was my highest month so far of listeners, and I love that. And so I just want to take a minute to say thank you to everyone who is listening. Clearly there are people out there listening to the show because they tell me every month and it seems to be growing. And I know in December, in particular, December is kind of a tough month for podcasts and listening to shows and things like that. The listenership goes down. Of course, it's holidays and kind of a busy time of year for people, but I actually still increased December over November. So you guys were out there listening. I love you. Thank you. It makes me so happy. I get such great feedback. So I know that this is really making a difference for people. So thank you. And I have to say, too, best of all, I just a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a month ago, I enrolled a new client who found me through this show. And I tell you, that is so awesome. I'm so excited. But what was funny is that she listened to every single episode that I had made so far. I think she went in order too, 1 through 39 at the time. That is a loyal fan. So my love to you in particular. I was totally blown away by that. And maybe there's other people out there who've done that. I don't know. But this is the first time I had known of someone who just went bam, 1 through 39 and listened to all of them. So that just warms my heart. So thank you so much to everyone who's listening. And if you have benefited from this show, please consider giving it a review on iTunes. It would mean the world to me, and it supports the show in a very direct way. It helps it to kind of get found in searches, people looking for career help with their podcasts, things like that. So give it a little couple sentences that you can write about it, or at least a star rating, something. Would so appreciate that if you have an iTunes account, if you're an Apple kind of person. But thank you for that. So that kind of made my week a few weeks ago. But I want to tell you too, if you're loving the show, take it to the next level. Email me a question that you have, a problem, whatever you're going through in your career. I would love to hear it, and I would love to answer it on the air. You can email me at lorraine@careeruprising.com. I will pull it out of the mailbag, answer your question on air, and if you want to get really brave too, we can schedule for you to call in during the recording and I will coach you through the problem. You can actually be in the show. How cool would that be to not just be a listener, but be on the show? And you don't have to have been one of my clients. I will help you through it even if you're just kind of a listener. So that is a standing invitation to you guys. Would love for that to happen. It'd be so fun. But before we dive into our topic, we're going to be dealing with toxic jobs today. So kind of a heavy topic, but I know one that a lot of people need to hear. So we're going to dive into that today, dealing with a toxic job. But I also want to take a minute to really quick share with you guys that something new that I kind of launched. I did somewhat of a soft launch on a new program option, or at least something new I'm opening up to new clients. It's not really new. It's been working quite well, actually, for past clients, but I'm kind of opening it up to new clients to see if it helps them. It's a very, very affordable way to work with me. The most affordable way ever to get direct guidance from me. It's a monthly pay-as-you-go kind of program. And I used to only offer it to past clients who'd already gone through the coaching program, and I already had a relationship with them and they'd already gotten some guidance, but I've beefed it up a little bit and added a little bit more to it. And now I'm opening it up to new clients. So essentially what it is a way for you to get some guidance from me. There's a couple of quick phone calls throughout the month. There's lots of email support, bonus resources and tip sheets I've developed. You'll also get a free copy of my book that I wrote that's on Amazon. I've sweetened the pot with a lot of kind of extras, but it's basically a way for you to kind of have a career coach on call a little bit. And it's only $197 a month. So it's probably less than your car payment. And you can get guidance and insights that from me in your job search. Now, I will tell you, this is not a full service coaching program. So if you are going through a legit career transition or have some serious challenges, it's probably not going to solve those problems. But if you're doing fairly well, if you just want me to be able to kind of take a quick look at your resume, answer questions, give you some guidance and some tips, and you'll be on your way, you just need a little jump start, this could be a really good solution for you. It could be that extra layer of support to kind of confirm, yes, you're doing the right things in your job search. No, you're not. But you'll get email support and a couple check-in calls throughout the month. And you can do 1 month, you can do 6 months. There's no contract, there's no minimum, nothing like that. So $197 a month, you guys, for real. There's no excuse not to do it. It's a great low cost kind of entry point if you're not sure if you want to do full coaching with me, if you're not sure if you need that level of support. But email me again at Lorraine@careeruprising.com. That is how you enroll. You do need to email me. We'll hop on a call, make sure it's right for you, that kind of thing. So that is something new that I've got floating out there. So I'd love to hear from you if you feel like that would work for you. Okay, on to our topic. So dealing with a toxic job. There are a lot of things that are stressing people out these days, stressing people out, and our jobs are one of them. We spend so much time at our jobs, oftentimes more than we do with our families, that it can really bleed into other parts of your life if you're dealing with chronic job stress. And then coupled with long commutes, road rage, bad bosses, low pay, rising healthcare costs. I don't mean to sound negative, but there are a lot of stressors out there in our professional lives. It's kind of coming at us from every angle. Not to mention, there are no less than 5 generations in the workforce today, which I think is fascinating. We have the most diverse workforce that we ever had, which is cool. But you know what? There can be challenges. There's no doubt about that. That work is changing, all right? And it's normal to have a certain amount of stress, of course, in your job. No one ever gets away without having some stress in their job. But what we're talking about today is when it becomes truly toxic, when it progresses to the level of it not getting better. It's not just a bad day, and we need to make that distinction because sometimes it can be salvageable. And so I think that's our starting point for this conversation is determining what is a toxic job anyway? What does that mean? And for me, I would define that as a job that is truly detrimental to your health in some way. So you might want to ask yourself, is this just occasional stress? Is it just a certain project or just kind of this one person? Has it not always been this way? But if your job is causing you consistent physical, emotional, psychological stress, then you might be in that proverbial toxic environment. And it's also important to ask yourself whether or not it's coming directly and solely from the employer, or if you aren't contributing to it in some way. And maybe that sounds harsh, but we often have control over so much more than we think we do. Okay, so it's really important to be honest. Am I influencing this? Am I contributing to it? Or maybe I'm not, but maybe there's something I can do about it. I want to empower you to make that distinction and take action if there is something that you can do about it. But sometimes it can't be saved. And so that's a critical distinction to make, because we don't always have to leave our jobs. That's not always the solution. And we can often contribute to our own stress and our own problems unconsciously. We don't do it on purpose. So making this distinction does require us to really look objectively and make sure that at ourselves and make sure we're doing everything we can to remedy the situation. So I'm going to help you to do that today and determine if maybe it's not you, maybe it is the environment and you just need to get out. So, for example, if you are experiencing difficulties at work, maybe with a certain person, what action have you taken? Have you reported it? Or even before that, have you gone directly to that person and given them feedback? It's hard for people to do, but that is your first step. Before you go report it to your boss or HR, have you tried to work it out with them? Is there any kind of conflict mediation that your company offers, whether it's formal or informal? A lot of organizations these days have formal systems in place for filing grievances and mediating conflicts and things like that. Could you be transferred to another department? I've certainly seen that happen when I've been a manager and I've had staffing conflicts that simply could not be resolved, and I've moved employees to other locations. That could be an option, because you may love your job, but there's just this one, person or situation that you're just not going to be able to resolve. But I don't want you to go out there and get a new job if you don't have to, but maybe you do. So let's figure that out today. But if the harassment or whatever it is, the difficulty that you're experiencing is severe, or you've reported and nothing's been done, then yes, you probably are in a toxic environment, because we can't expect there to never be a stress or a problem or a conflict, but we should expect that there are reasonable systems in place for resolving them, for hearing your concerns. So just use your best judgment there and see first if it can be resolved in some way. All right. But it's definitely, in my opinion, a sign of a poor working environment or company culture if you aren't encouraged to speak up, if there's no mechanisms in place for resolving conflict or voicing concerns or blowing the whistle or whatever it might be. If communication is discouraged in general, that is not a good sign. If there's no process in place for expressing a grievance without retaliation, that is not a good sign. And, you might want to ask yourself too, is there a general consensus in the office? Is it just me, or is anyone else experiencing this? Or is there some kind of mass exodus going on? What is the turnover rate? What is the general sentiment of people working there? Is everyone in your office secretly launching a job search and constantly complaining? Or is it just kind of these one-off grievances? Ask yourself these questions and maybe even find out how other people feel at your job. We don't want to spread gossip or anything like that, but there's nothing wrong sometimes with confiding in a coworker you trust to go, hey, is it just me? Have you noticed this? Sometimes an outside perspective or just a different person's perspective can be valuable. But here's a couple other questions that you can ask yourself to kind of evaluate your current situation and figure out if this is an environment that you can stay in or if you need to leave. So, is your workload unreasonable? Are you realistically doing the job of two people? Because this happens a lot. If you find it impossible to meet their expectations and put in just a reasonable number of hours and turn your computer and everything off at home, you should be able to do that. You should not be expected to work when you're at home. If you find that is just not possible to meet the expectations, then that is unreasonable. You're probably doing the work of more than one person. Is your office filled with gossip and rumors and cliques and things like that? Okay? Do people complain on a regular basis? And certainly, is there any illegal or unethical activity going on? That, of course, I think you know what to do in that case, right? But sometimes it gets hard when there's kind of a gray area and you don't really know, is it severe enough that I should say anything? Talk to somebody else about it that you trust, get someone else's opinion. So that is your first step, is determining, is this salvageable and what can I do to remedy it before I go look somewhere else? All right. So here's what I want to do. We're going to take a quick little commercial break, but when we come back, I'm going to walk you through 3 specific steps that you can take if you feel that you are in this environment. Because your question now is probably, okay, what do I do? What do I do about my situation? And how do I manage my stress? So let's take a quick commercial break, and then I will be right back and walk you through that. Hey everyone, while the show takes a short break, I want to let you know about a book that I recently wrote. That's right, a book. It's called Career Uprising. Unlock your potential and advance your career. And it walks you through how to bring about massive change in your career. And I'm talking about real, lasting change at the deepest levels. You'll learn more about my own career journey and the exact techniques that I have used to create my own success. So if you want to make a big move in your career, but you don't know how, or don't think that you have the courage, go to Amazon.com and purchase the book. It's called Career Uprising, Unlock Your Potential and Advance Your Career. And it's an ebook, so you'll be able to download it through the free Amazon Kindle app and start reading it instantly. And I've priced it very low cost, so you have nothing to lose. I know that you will get massive value from it. All right, let's get back to the show. All right, so we are back, and we have been defining what is a toxic work environment, what is and what isn't. And recognizing, of course, that this can be different for different people. So use your judgment and always, always follow your intuition. That's why you have intuition. Follow it. So I will share a quick story here for you too. I've been very blessed in my career that in general, I've loved my jobs for the most part. I've always loved working. I've always known that I would work. And even when I had my daughter, I got back to work quickly. I love it. It's part of what I like to do. And I bring a lot of positivity and eagerness to my jobs, which of course makes a huge difference. But historically, I've just been able to, I guess, attract jobs to myself that work well for me and that I like. But in 2015, that changed. I was unemployed due to a buyout. The company that I was at was kind of a startup, and they got bought out, and tons of people got laid off. So I quite literally, took the first job that was offered to me. I was unemployed, right? That's what you do. You're supposed to you don't turn down job offers when you're unemployed. So I thought, well, everything came together really quickly, too quickly. I didn't shop around. I had bills to pay. I had a job offer just like the week after I think I finished this job. I didn't even file unemployment. That's how quickly this all came together. I didn't give any consideration to the corporate culture I didn't read the warning signs that were completely there in the interview process, and they were there. I kind of knew it at the time. I didn't listen to my intuition that told me something felt off about this job. I wasn't as excited to start it as I usually am. I usually love starting new jobs. So exciting. I just kind of felt neutral, like, I don't know. And so I found myself in that proverbial toxic job, right? That we hear so much about. Now, there was no actual harassment, thank goodness, or anything like illegal that I know of going on, thank God. But I was so unhappy. I was so misaligned to the culture. I didn't belong there. And it was not just a bad day here and there. I was unhappy every single day. And I didn't last very long. I only lasted like 3 months. I have no tolerance for that kind of stuff. But the leadership was rather abrasive, intimidating. It just, and in kind of in talking about some of the things that I said before about, does everybody feel that way? Is the turnover high? All those classic symptoms were there, all of them. My job expectations were super vague. There was no training. People gossiped, complained all the time. Their favorites were played pretty openly. I mean, it was just like the writing on the wall. And, you can only see a glimpse of that in the interview, but a glimpse is enough. I saw the glimpse and I ignored it. And I just thought, well, I don't know. I need a job. I'm sure it'll be fine. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. But that job was not aligned with me energetically. And so to me, that was toxic. So I kind of define a toxic job as something that almost just doesn't work for you. No matter what you do, you can't be yourself there. You can't show up as your best authentic self because it's like two puzzle pieces that just don't fit. And I was uncomfortable going to work every day. I avoided interaction with my boss at all costs. And, and when that's the case, you need a new job. Okay. So if you're in one of those jobs now, here are some action steps you can take to handle things until you can find another job or get it resolved. Number 1, have a support system. Whether that is coworkers within the organization who are sympathetic to you, or your family, friends, might be better if it's somebody outside the organization, but so you got to get it out. You got to talk about it. You got to vent. You also might need another person's perspective because maybe they see something that you don't, or maybe they've been through that situation and can relate. But you need to find support in other people. Don't hold it all in, all right? And you also, when I say finding support in other people, you don't want to take it home to your spouse and just vent and unload. We're trying to avoid that. Having a support system prevents that from happening. That's not support. That's just, projecting on and spewing onto somebody else. And that happens so often. Okay? Find a true support system so that you don't end up carrying all of this home to the people that you love. Number 2, document what's happening and share it with someone at the organization, whether it's your boss, if they're not the problem, your boss's boss, if your boss is the problem, HR, whatever is most appropriate given your organization's structure and size, okay? But try to resolve it. Try to give feedback to that person, file a grievance, whatever you have to do, whatever's most appropriate given who this is about or what's going on, okay? But I want you to do basic due diligence here to solve the problem. And chances are, if you're going to bring this to HR or a manager, if it's a problem with someone else, they're going to ask you, well, what have you done to resolve it? So it only is going to strengthen your case if you can document what's been happening, okay? And then third is sometimes it's not something so specific and acute. It's not just a person that needs to go away. Sometimes it's just the company. It's more abstract and ambiguous than that. And you can't quite put your finger on it. There's not like one email that you can show to somebody and go, aha, that's the problem, right? And so sometimes, like in my case, it was just, I didn't fit in there, and I was never going to. And that's when you need to leave. So that's the third option, is to start looking for another job. If the situation is not salvageable, then craft an exit strategy. Now, if you're in a position where you can just leave and you'll be okay for a little while financially, oh, please do that. It's okay. It's okay to leave if you're really in a bad environment. If you can't, as most people can't, start looking, okay? Start engaging your network, do whatever you have to do, and start looking for that exit, okay? But if you are at a point where your job is causing you consistent stress, physical, emotional, psychological, it's affecting your health, it's affecting your home relationships, you may need to leave before you have another job. And you may need to do that because you won't be able to open yourself up to finding that new job until you detach from this problem that you have. You don't have the time, the mental energy, the focus to launch a job search, all right? And sometimes you just need to get out of the situation. And it's okay to find a stepping stone job. It is okay. If you need to find another job, and I don't want you to go into another toxic job, but if you need to find something in the interim just to get out, that is okay sometimes, all right? It just depends on what the situation is. But your job should not take a toll on your health. It's not worth that, okay? Jobs shouldn't do that to you. Remember, our jobs are what we do, but not who we are. Never who we are. And there's way too many options out there for you to put up with being so unhappy, all right? So that is pretty much it. That is my little message for you. I also did a kind of a companion video for this on YouTube as well. If you don't know, I have a YouTube channel. It's been growing. I get little followers every now and then. So oftentimes when I do a podcast episode, I put a YouTube video out that's kind of a teaser or a companion to it. So find me on YouTube, and I have one that is coming out the same day as this show. And it's called Dealing with a Toxic Job. So whatever works for you, but that's just another way to kind of reinforce the message and get some of my tips and strategies. But I hope this served you, and I hope it inspired you. And if you need help getting out of a situation like this, let me know. I obviously know what you're going through. I can help you. So consider coaching with me this year in 2019. But I will be back next week, and I have a great topic, a happier topic for you as well. But go out there, guys. Be brave, be magnificent, and I will catch up with you next week. That's it for today's show. Thank you so much for listening. If you like what you heard today, please consider giving the show a positive review on iTunes. It would mean a lot to me, and it would help to spread the word so that others can learn about the show. Thanks again for tuning in, and I can't wait to connect with you again next time on Career Uprising.
This show is brought to you by inflowradio.com, the best curated talk radio network for personal development, wellness, spirituality, and conscious business.